Welcome viewers to part 4 and the last part of our screencast on long-term care issues and Medicaid. My name is Allison Marcusio. I'm an attorney and a member of the Danbury, Connecticut law firm known as Tripp & Bazzucco. In the first 3 parts of the screencast, we talked about the kinds of services Medicaid covers and the asset and income criteria for eligibility for Medicaid. We also covered how eligibility can be jeopardized if you make certain transfers of property in order to qualify for Medicaid. Until now, we've been talking as if your long-term care will be occurring in a nursing home, but there are programs that are designed to encourage home care, so let's spend some time talking about those. The most important programs that cover home care are Medicare, to a limited extent that we'll talk about briefly, the normal Medicaid program, and another Medicaid program referred to as the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders Category 3. And there are state-funded programs, which are referred to as the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders Categories 1 and 2. Medicare home care is sometimes overlooked, but it can be very helpful under certain circumstances. In order to qualify for this type of benefit, you must be considered homebound. In other words, it's very difficult for you to leave home because of a medical condition, and you must be in need of skilled services. Examples of skilled services are wound care and certain therapies such as speech therapy and physical or occupational therapy. But what you can get is limited. It must be less than 7 days each week or less than 8 hours each day for a period which is no longer than 21 days. It can continue for as long as you need that type of service, but your need for services must be certified by your doctor every 60 days. So there are 60-day reviews. Medicare home care covers a lot of important services, but you should also know what it does not cover. First, here's what it covers. Nursing services including observation and assessment, management of your home care plan, and nursing education. That means educating you about certain aspects of your care plan that you can do yourself, and it includes limited services of home health aides for dressing, bathing, toileting, eating, and light housekeeping. But Medicare will not cover 24-hour-a-day care at home, and it usually will not provide meals at home or homemaker services like shopping, cleaning, and laundry when this is the only help you need. But limited assistance of this kind can be provided when other skilled nursing services are necessary. Unjustified denials of Medicare benefits are not unusual. Many times, the unjustified denial is based on the misconception that conditions that are chronic and stable are not covered, or on the idea that services that have no restorative element are not covered. Especially if the denial is based on that type of rationale, you should consider appealing. In that case, the Center for Medicare Advocacy can be very helpful. Every state with a Medicaid program is required to offer a home health benefits program, which we will talk about in a few minutes. We will refer to this as the mandatory home care program, and the benefits will resemble the Medicare benefits we just talked about. Under the Medicaid umbrella, Connecticut has adopted a variation which is known as the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders Category 3, sometimes referred to as the Home Care Waiver Program. The waiver program is available to provide more extensive home care coverage for people who are age 65 or older and who can be cared for at home in a safe, cost-effective way, and who without home care would have to go to a nursing home to get this type of care that they need. The Home Care Waiver Program is accessed through Connecticut Community Care, which is referred to as an access agency. The access agencies make assessments, develop care plans, and arrange and monitor services. They do not review applications or determine eligibility for Medicaid. Only the Department of Social Services, DSS, does that. But Connecticut Community Care can be a good place to get the assessment guidance you need to determine if the program may be right for you. The Home Care Waiver Program offers all these services: case management, homemaker services, home-delivered meals, chore services, emergency response system, respite care, minor home modifications, adult daycare, and, in some cases, a personal care assistant. That sounds very good, but there are limits imposed by way of cost caps. The total cost of the home care plan cannot exceed the monthly Medicaid cost of a nursing home. That's not the private pay cost, that's the Medicaid cost, which is much less. In 2020, that number was $5,945. A cap may also apply to the cost of non-medical social services, which are included in a cap for the total cost. If the services you need will cost more than these caps, you can use your other resources to pay for them. Sometimes this means that family members will make up the difference. Sometimes Medicare benefits can make up the difference. The access agencies or geriatric care consultants can be very helpful in putting together the different pieces of the home care plan puzzle. Not everyone is eligible for the Home Care Waiver Program, and there are income and asset limits. To be eligible for the Connecticut Home Care Waiver Program, you must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You must be a Connecticut resident. You must be unable to perform 2 or more activities of daily living. Your income can be no more than $2,349 a month. And remember, for this purpose, the definition of income is much broader than merely taxable income. Keep in mind that the determination of whether you have more than $2,349 per month of income is after taking the community spouse minimum monthly needs allowance into account. Also, there may be a limited opportunity to assign some income to a type of trust called a pooled trust to allow you to reduce your income below the limit. And your countable assets cannot be more than $1,600 after taking into account the community spouse protected amount. So the asset limitations are similar to the regular Medicaid limits. If you contact the Department of Social Services, they will take you through a screening process and refer you to your regional Connecticut Community Care Access Agency for assessment. As we mentioned earlier, a certain level of home care is mandated by the Medicaid rules. It's available to anyone who would otherwise qualify for Medicaid. There are caps on the benefits similar to the caps we talked about earlier, and of course, home care must be considered safe. You may recall that earlier we talked about the types of services Medicare provides at home. The home care benefits under Medicaid resemble the benefits provided by Medicare, but there's no home bond requirement and no skilled service requirement. That's very important. So it covers non-skilled aid for up to 20 hours per week and maybe more than that if the need is certified by your doctor. We started our presentation by asking a question. If you need long-term care, how are you going to pay for it? We mentioned the obvious. You'll be expected to pay for it out of your resources, your savings, and your income. But we also recognize that given the cost of long-term care, you might run out of resources very quickly. And if you've not made other arrangements, you likely will be relying on Medicaid. Then we spent quite a bit of time talking about benefits that may be available through Medicaid. Back when we began this presentation, we also mentioned long-term care insurance. So let's talk about that now. Long-term care insurance, like all insurance products, is designed to protect you from a particular risk. In this case, we're talking about the risk that you may need long-term care at significant cost, and you purchase the insurance to pay for the cost of long-term care. And by doing so, you protect your assets from long-term care costs. The insurance is supposed to cover the help you may need to manage the chronic condition in a nursing home, assisted living, or a home setting. The amount of coverage you need will be based on the costs associated with that type of care. Right now, as we prepare this video in early 2021, the average private pay cost of long-term care in a skilled nursing facility in Connecticut for a semi-private room is approximately $438 per day. Interestingly, the Medicaid pay rate is approximately $225 per day, and the cost has been increasing by more than 4% per year. When you purchase long-term care insurance, you should be paying attention to certain terms of the contract which can affect the coverage and the premiums you will pay. First, be certain you know whether it covers only nursing home care or will also include coverage provided while living in an assisted living or home care environment. Next, consider when you will become eligible for payments under the policy. This is the waiting period or elimination period. You could think of it as a deductible, or how much will you have to pay from other resources before your policy kicks in with benefits. It's not unusual to have a deductible of 100 days because it's not unusual for Medicare to cover nursing home care for 100 days in whole or in part. Next, consider how much coverage you need. Coverage is usually based on the daily cost of care. Think about how much of the cost you can handle from your own resources, such as your Social Security and pensions. You may want to insure for only the difference between the cost and what your income can cover. Also consider lifetime benefit limits. If the average nursing home stay is 2.5 years and you think the average applies to you, perhaps you will decide to base the limit on how much 2.5 years of coverage would cost. Or perhaps you're thinking in terms of coverage during the 5-year transfer look-back period that we previously discussed. So you might limit the total benefits to what you need for 5 years, thinking that after you make your transfers and after you use up your insurance coverage, you'll then rely on Medicaid. And you'll want to consider whether the policy includes provisions which adjust your benefits for inflation, keeping in mind that the cost of nursing home care has been increasing at the annual rate of 4%. You want to consider whether the policy qualifies under the Connecticut Partnership for Long-Term Care. If it does, and you need to apply for Medicaid benefits after the policy is used up, your exempt assets for purposes of Medicaid eligibility will be increased by the value of the benefits paid under the policy. In other words, if your policy pays out $500,000 in benefits, then when the benefits of the policy have been exhausted, you can qualify for Medicaid even though you have assets with a value of $500,000. you would not be required to spend down to $1,600. So when you do planning related to long-term care, you have quite a few things to think about. Should you purchase long-term care insurance? Should you transfer assets now to family members while keeping in mind the 5-year look-back period? Should you convert countable assets to excluded assets? For example, you could build an addition onto your home or pay off your mortgage. Should you convert assets to income by annuitizing IRAs or other assets? One thing you can and should do is to make certain that you authorize some trusted individual or individuals to make decisions for you and do the planning that should be done if you become unable to do the planning yourself. To do that, you should consider preparing powers of attorney that include specific powers to facilitate planning. You should prepare healthcare instructions and appoint someone to be your healthcare representative. You should prepare documents which tell the probate court who should be in charge of you and your property if you're deemed incapable, and you should prepare or review the terms of your will and other estate planning documents in light of your long-term care concerns. That's the end of our screencast on long-term care issues in Medicaid. I hope you've learned something from this presentation. If you have any questions, we would be pleased to have the opportunity to answer them. Thank you for viewing.